There's a lot of talk right now about what the newest Dragon Ball Z game is going to be, and I'm here to tell you guys about 5 Dragon Ball games that I really wish we would get some sort of remake of. Also, I appreciate your guys' time and thank you so much for checking out this video, but if you really want to help me out, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Coming in at number 5, we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors. This was on the Game Boy Advance, and looking at it, it's obviously pretty unique. The thing that I like about this gameplay is that while it's 2D, the flying is somehow like really freeform. It's really unique and crazy how they did this all the way back on the era of the Game Boy Advance, and it really hasn't quite been replicated. And I know it's a really simple thing, which is why it's not higher up on my list, but nonetheless, I think that it's a really cool style of fighting. You know, we've had traditional 2D fighters like Dragon Ball FighterZ or more like the Budokai franchise, but the flight never really felt like quite Dragon Ball-y to me in those games. They were still really great games, but there's something about a game feeling really, you know, like you're in an episode of Dragon Ball, which normally can only be achieved in the 3D arena fighters like Xenoverse. But this game did a really unique job of combining 2 play styles, I think, and overall, I would love to see an updated version of this game. Next up, also around the same period of time, is Legendary Super Warriors. This was also a Game Boy game, and it had a really unique style as well. It was like turn-based combat, almost felt kind of like Dragon Ball's take on Pokemon, and I'm sure that's probably like what the marketing people had in mind when they were doing it. While you weren't really out like catching monsters or anything like that, or catching Z fighters, the combat and kind of the style of the game feels very similar to Pokemon, just in terms of the art style and everything. But the combat had its own little unique things, and I remember having a really great time with this game. I would love to see this make a return, even if it was just on the Switch or anything like that. And some people might say that we got a very similar version of this game in Attack of the Saiyans, and they're not completely wrong. I think that the main similarities that they have are only that they're turn-based combat. I think there's a lot of things that each of those games did to make them different, but if you really want to say that Attack of the Saiyans was an updated version of Legendary Super Warriors, then fine. Give me a remake of Attack of the Saiyans, or at least a freaking HD sequel. Next up is Burst Limit. Now, this game is really great, and looking at it right now, even by today's standards, even though this game is pretty old, honestly, even by today's standards, the graphics are not bad at all. So you may be thinking, well, Stormpow, what do you mean? Like, why do you think that this game needs a remake more than others? And I just think that this game needs the proper attention that it deserves. I think that this game had so much potential, and I would love to see this game with some of the bugs fixed and also with a longer, more fleshed out story mode. I would love to see a Burst Limit that is a little bit more refined on the gameplay and some of the little glitches that goes all the way into Dragon Ball Super. Add, you know, the little minor differences that we've got in this next generation of graphics and just really give us like a cinematic experience. Think Dragon Ball Kakarot, except instead of having an open world, you've got like an actual CPU battle system, you know, where you can go in and like make custom fights and everything like that. And of course, online multiplayer. Absolutely can't forget that in this day and age with a game like this. And instead of being like a 3D fighter, it's more like a 2D fighter, you know, like the Burst Limit style. But it's still got a really great and cinematic story mode like Dragon Ball Kakarot has for you single player fans, but a little bit of a better, more fleshed out combat system like Burst Limit does, and of course online capability. Next up is Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and whenever people talk about Dragon Ball games that need to get remastered, this one always comes up. I feel like everybody's going to agree with this one for sure, and I agree with it as well. It's pretty high up on the list, obviously, and I think that this one needs a remake because the gameplay is freaking phenomenal. There are little things here and there that, you know, kind of make me like it more than Xenoverse's gameplay, even though they are similar. And don't get me wrong, there are certain things that I think Xenoverse did better than this game did, but I do think that I would love to see a modern take on Budokai Tenkaichi, not necessarily like a Xenoverse 3. I want to see Budokai Tenkaichi brought to the modern day, fleshed out just a little bit, but to me, the combat was just so satisfying in this game. It was done so right. If you want to like add the stamina system from Xenoverse, you know, just to keep it kind of consistent, that's cool. I don't think that would ruin it. But the main thing that separates this game from Xenoverse is the freaking giants. Like, I know in Xenoverse 2, you can kind of sort of play as a giant, you know, with the Namex and everything like that. That's obviously really cool. But to just be able to willy-nilly, like, say, I'm going to play as Great Ape Vegeta, or I'm going to play as Great Ape Baby, or anything like that. Like, so many different giant options. I'm going to play as Lord Slug, you know, and do this in the CPU battle mode. And again, you know, bring this maybe online as well, if it works. I'm guessing that online play is like the only reason why they did not bring giants into like the regular, you know, combat in Xenoverse, because obviously they've got the resources there. You know, they do it with the Namex and everything. I think that maybe they were just worried that it would be like too OP in online ranked PvP or anything, and that's valid. So if they could bring like Budokai Tenkaichi 3 back and either like balance that to where, you know, being a giant is not completely busted, or maybe make a mode where like both of you are playing as giants in online, but still give you the option to play online versus normal sized character on offline battles, just because that's fun. But overall, I just think that, like, man, I would love to see a game that lets you play as a giant in modern day graphics, because whenever I play Dragon Ball Kakarot and they show great apes, or even hell, back in Ultimate Tenkaichi, there were lots of giant characters, and I was just like, man, these giant characters look so cool. I would love to be able to play as them. And the game that I think needs a remake, perhaps more than any on the rest of this video, is the Legacy of Goku 1 and 2. And now I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking, well, you already have Boo's Fury. Like, that game was pretty good. And then, you know, we made Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and a lot of people kind of call that the spiritual successor to the Legacy of Goku series. Well, I never really quite agreed with that, all right? Just because it is like a 3D Dragon Ball like RPG, something about the charm of the playstyle for Legacy of Goku 1 and 2 and of course Boo's Fury were really great. The reason why I'm only saying that Legacy of Goku 1 and 2 need a remake is because the gameplay on those games was just extra not polished. Boo's Fury had really solid gameplay, and of course I would love to see that as well. But what I'd really like to see is Legacy of Goku, at least 1 and 2, done in modern graphics. I think I still kind of like the top-down view that you get in the Legacy of Goku style, you know, as opposed to Kakarot. You know, I do think that maybe this would be a game that should be only on like the Switch or maybe on mobile, just because I feel like a lot of people, you know, on consoles would be like, we already got Kakarot, and a lot of people would like that more. I want to see Dragon Ball Z and maybe even Super in kind of a more like cartoony, maybe even chibi style. Think the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes. That's how I'm envisioning a Legacy of Goku 1 and 2 and Boo's Fury remake. But it seems like the only games that get that like kind of chibi, cutesy art style treatment are games based off of Dragon Ball, like when Goku was a kid. And I think it would be cool to see that with Dragon Ball Z and maybe even into Super. If you like this video, go check out some of my other videos. There should be some on the screen right now that you can go click. And for now, I would like to thank you all for watching. I hope you have a nice day, and goodbye.